Alright, so some of the old work that I found while going through my stuff was as far back as 1991. Let's see here. We got this first one. This old Michael Jordan done in dots. Basically, I took markers and just kept dot 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 dot, dot stippling all the way around the paper, trying to get this Michael Jordan figure to look right. And then there was the picture I used to get that right. Oh, Michael Jordan back in the day. Then there's this Wolverine that I did. I have like memories of doing this. I remember sitting in the chair and we had just moved on post in Fort Stewart, Georgia, while my dad was away in Desert Storm, and we didn't have much furniture. I just remember sitting in one corner of the living room, and I had a comic book that had Wolverine in it, and this picture was actually in the corner. It was like the corner of the paper in the top, and then the rest of him just bled into the actual comics. I thought it was really neat. And honestly, I was just trying to see if I could get myself into being one of those comic book artist type of guys. I never really uh, found myself like collecting comics or nothing, so I didn't really feel, that was my strength. But then again, I was only in what, seventh grade, eighth grade. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just trying to draw. What's on the back of this? Oh, okay, that's the other one. All right. Then there's this watercolor I did, Barry Bonds back in the day, and I thought it was pretty neat. Uh, Trying to make the crowd look full, using different colors and stuff. I thought the uniform came out pretty neat. You know what's really crazy is the number of times I would draw Barry Bonds from here forward. I thought that was an interesting thing because he wasn't one of my favorite players, but I loved the pictures that people would take on his follow through when he would, after he would hit a ball. It was something about that left-handed batter's follow through, like him and Griffey had it. Those guys, when they turn on the ball, and then they're already facing that way, so they just drop the bat and start heading that direction. It's really beautiful. Then Barry Bonds did steroids, and he came up a lot bigger. And this was the drawing I did sometime after. But again, I drew him again. Another contact shot. Personally, I think I screwed this picture up by adding Sharpie. It was all pencil, and then I put a Sharpie shadow on there, and I had to stick with it. So not too bad. I thought it was pretty neat. So then, a couple summers later, the next drawing I have was 2 years later, in '94, and I went to visit a cousin of mine. He had a bunch of comics, and he had a packet of markers that came in almost every color, and I was just looking for reasons to use those markers for anything. And I remember I was drawing this picture here, and I don't even remember the comic book behind this guy, but it was an awesome character. And then he had about 6 different shades of gray. I was like, damn, that's pretty awesome, man. Let me see if I could figure out how to use some tone, with the gray. I could do it in pencil, but with the gray all around the uniform, and then making this gun and that headband. And then in terms of color, the only places I dropped color was the red stripe near the eyes, and then the fire from the gun. And for a while, this was it, man. This was one of those things when you drop a piece and you go, "Oh, I got something here," and then you try to recapture that again, and you always fall short of this picture. But this was something that I carried around for a while, just trying to hit this mark again, with other stuff. Then I drew this tiger with a fountain pen. I think I used all the ink. It was pretty neat though. This tiger was drawn on another comic. Again, it was something that my cousin had. I don't even remember the name of it. I just flip through and see something cool and just try to recreate it. But this was one that was pretty neat, and I've had it for a while. And then this torso with the legs. This was in a book I rented from the library that had a bunch of Frank Rosetta or Frazetta. I can't remember how to say his name right. I should know how to say his name right. Anyway, it was a bunch of paintings, oil paintings and stuff. And I wasn't good at faces and hair and all that, so I just stuck with the body because I thought it would be interesting to just try to capture shadows. A lot of this is what I do now with the black paintings, or the black drawings with the white chalk. Is just capturing the light. But this came out pretty cool, and I thought, let me keep this. And then every now and then I go and do some graffiti type of thing or something. I don't know where I was going with this one, but I was going somewhere with it. And of course you got Calvin and Hobbes. You can't go wrong with that. Big fan of Calvin and Hobbes. This was all probably my junior year in high school. Yeah. Junior year in high school, man. Good shit. I had a lot of fun drawing these guys. At the time, there was a comic, I think it was Image, came out with the Max. I don't know if you guys remember that shit. This character was all purple. He had yellow hands. He had like a middle finger that stuck up like a horn. I just thought it was an awesome character. Sometimes you'd look at him, you weren't sure what you were looking at. He was like a character that kind of felt like graffiti. You didn't always know what you were seeing, so you had to find like the face and then figure it out from there. And then his hands had like these yellow gloves, but they had like paint drip. Like he dipped his hands in something. I thought it was a great character. I never followed the story. I don't know anything about him, but I think I spent my money on records. I wasn't much of a comic book buyer at the time, but it was dope. I liked it. And then 95 rolled around, man, and that's when things picked up a little bit more for me. Again, I'm drawing and I'm not really thinking about a career as an artist, but New Year's came around and I tried to drop a self-portrait. This was one of the senior pictures I took. I had my ball cap with my jersey on. I remember drawing this just after New Year's in 1995 when I think my parents were downstairs. They had a party. My mom's work friends came over and everybody was down there doing their thing, and I just locked myself up in the room and sat down with a pen. Just went to town for a while. Tried to figure out who I was. 5 months away from graduation. And then this one happened. And this changed the game, man. This was the first time I did a piece where it took me probably a week. I would go to school, come home, and I had it taped to a table, so I never moved it. I just sat it there, and I used a mechanical pencil and a little piece of cardboard to do the blending. And I remember when I started it, I was like, man, this is really going somewhere. And I figured out how to smooth that lead with just by using a little corner of the cardboard. And I was able to capture the shadows and shine and all these other things that I'd never put in my work before. And slowly but surely it started to come into this really amazing piece. for you guys who don't know, this is Vampirella. She's a comic book character, and the image I drew this off of, it was in a Wizard magazine, which is like a price guide for comics and stuff. It tells you what they're worth if you can flip back and all that. Kind of like what we did with baseball cards back in the day when we used our Beckett's and all that. You know, you flip back, find out what your comic's worth and all that. And then they promote other stuff. And this Vampirella issue was on there. And the cool part about it was that it was very cartoonish in the image I was looking off of. And when it started to look with, or it started to take on a little bit of realism, that was when I realized I had to keep working at it and keep trying to finish it in a way where it all matched. You know, I didn't want it to look like super real up here and then look cartoony down here. So I had to make sure that these boots look like leather. I remember, man, I spent probably a day on each one of these boots just trying to figure that out. Because you don't want to draw too much, because then you got to erase it. And if you do that too many times, it looks like shit. So, all kinds of things wrong with this picture, but there's a lot right with it. So, I give myself some slack for being 17 years old. And if I was a rapper, this is probably my first hit. That's how I felt. I still feel that way. This is probably my first hit, you know? This is my Thriller album right here. This is my Thriller album. And the crazy shit, man, is that there wasn't too much that followed this picture, you know? After I graduated high school, it was pretty much just about work. You know, paying car insurance so I can drive, having money to go out, do things, buy things. And then we moved to New Jersey after we moved to New Jersey about maybe about 5 months after I drew this picture. And yeah, man, it's an interesting thing because there's about a 9-year gap between the day I hit this mark and then the next time I would hit the mark again on something. And you know, it just goes to show that if you can easily have a talent and not really realize what you have. You know, I could have went that direction of art, but you know, within a year and a half of drawing this picture, I would be in boots at boot camp and starting a 4-year service in the Army. You know, and then after that, it was just a corporate job, and you know, the arts were not in my field of scope. It was just get a job, hold it down, make your payments, pay your rent, buy more shit, so that you can do like everybody else and eventually buy a house and have a family and etc. etc. You know, that was the vision. That was the just following the leader. So then 9 years later, I did this Barry Bonds in MS Paint. Yeah, MS Paint. Pixel by fucking pixel. I don't know if you can even tell, but it is pixel by pixel when it comes to this picture. And this took about a week. This is when I went from day shift to night shift, and there was about a 2-3 hour window where I didn't have shit to do. And the last thing I wanted to do was play solitaire. I wasn't big on reading, but MS Paint seemed to be interesting if you could figure out how to map it out. And I used to just draw lines and then, you know, using the background color, erase the lines until it felt like I had the right shape. And then I would just go in and pixel by pixel, you know. I didn't do the face because that was out of my skill set, but I think I did a pretty damn good job in terms of capturing the image. Man, MS Paint, bro. If you've ever drawn in MS Paint, this is like creating some Nintendo first generation graphics in MS Paint. You know, like this is like the image before you played RBI. And like I said, like player one player, 2 player and shit. This is the cool image before you play the game. You had to watch the shitty graphics. But that's it, man. That's the journey, man. You know, 2000 and what? This was probably 2005 or six, somewhere around there. And then you got that before it, man. There's a big gap between these two. Isn't that crazy? But that's the way it goes sometimes, man. You know, sometimes you have a you have a hit like this one, and you might not even realize what you have or what you're doing if no one notices it for you or with you or helps you along the way. Here's another older one, MS Paint. If you got MS Paint, man, you know, it's pretty much up to you. It's not the easiest, but if you got vision, you got time, you can make shit happen on MS Paint. That is the truth. And that's the gist of it, man. You know, you do what you got to do. You draw when you're inspired, and try to figure it out along the way. You know.